The little town I live in is getting ready for the Oktoberfest festivities tonight. There's the row of Twitties, and over there they're starting to assemble a stage for the music. It's a neat little town I live in, Ambler. Lots of nice things that they do. But we have some projects to do today, so we'll get to that in a little bit. I wonder if I should get this car for my next project. I asked my wife. She said no. I wonder if anybody else feels self-conscious about doing YouTube videos, especially when you're out in the street and people are wondering what you're doing. But anyway, I do feel a little self-conscious sometimes. That's why maybe my voice isn't loud enough or clear enough. But anyway, I want to... these old cars are one for the senses, and one of your senses is your hearing. And I just want to go over a couple of things that I think is kind of cool about these old cars. It's just the noises that they make, like the noise with the trunk opening, that innocent squeak, and the clunking of loose sheet metal. And then, of course, mine has some special sounds, like this door that is sort of pinched at the top. One of these days I gotta fix that, but you hear that, and the clunking sound of the door opening. This one has a similar sound, not as bad. And then, of course, the hood. This one has a special little feature where you gotta push it back. And then, of course, the closing. Now that's real metal. And this one has this extra special feature. I like to call this the center console guillotine. Sometimes it'll stay up, but if you give it the slightest touch, watch out, fingers, Jesus. And then one of my favorite sounds is the Mopar starter. Now this is one of those newer mini starters, but they still have sort of the similar sound. Especially when it starts. Almost there. There we go. But there's actually one sound in here that I don't really like. Now you probably have seen the video that I did with the exhaust system, and mainly the exhaust system tailpipe was meant to try to keep some of the fumes out of this car. And I've been driving it. I drove it actually to work this entire week. But what I have noticed is that there's still a very strong smell of exhaust in here. And yesterday I went over the whole exhaust system, and there may be some tiny leaks underneath, but there is definitely some big leak in the front. So let's go back out again. Open up this hood again. What I've noticed is that I have a very bad leak right here underneath this GR valve plate that I had made up. Now, I use very thin metal on this plate, and I think it's actually too thin. I think that it's just not making good contact. But I can definitely feel exhaust fumes right now coming through here. Now, another hot spot area that I think is kind of weird is that in between, let me turn the engine on, is that these manifolds, the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold are sort of connected right about here. Now there is a gasket, and I can see that this gasket is cracked. This is an issue that could be a problem too. And I'm not sure why that's cracked. I actually looked over my last video, or one of my videos where I put that together, and I think that what might have happened, this little doohickey here is a thermostatic, is that a word? Has a spring on it right here, and that's supposed to close, that's the closed position when the car is cold, and it's supposed to open gradually at time. And what that's supposed to do is to heat up the manifold, so that in colder, the intake manifold, so that in colder weather, the car will run faster, or not run faster, it'll actually run better because of the heat of the manifold. And then gradually, as the engine warms up, this is supposed to open up fully so that you have your exhaust gases go out of the engine unimpeded. I think what may have happened is that this valve may have closed. It gets into a position like right there where it's a little sticky. So I'm not sure if this has got at one point closed and didn't open, and it may have just blown that gasket right out. I'm not really sure. So actually, the way this manifold stovepipe or heat riser or manifold heat control valve works is that when the engine is cold, the flapper is closed, or the heat is on, or heat on, the exhaust gases are diverted to heat the intake manifold and the carb area. When the engine warms up, the spring relaxes and the flapper opens, or is in the heat off position, and the exhaust can freely flow out the manifold. Having this work is important for a smooth running engine and issues with heating the manifold too much if the valve is rusted shut. On my issue, or my car, I don't have an issue with the flapper being stuck in one position or the other, but the spring is actually broken that controls that counterweight which opens and closes the flapper. So at some point I'm going to have to take that apart and fix it. I'd have to take this apart, but I definitely know that there is a big exhaust leak right here. So what I'm going to do is take this off, investigate it, and I'm going to try to find a thicker piece of metal to put in here. I think that will apply more pressure. I think what's basically happened is it's just bowing out in the middle. So that's one of the projects today. All right, so can you see? Exhaust gases are obviously going to come out of here and here. This one's actually blocked off already. And here's the gasket. Here's something that kind of gives me a little bit of pause. I think that there's definitely some oil here. I think at some point I'm going to need to have valve stem seals put on here. They're probably leaking pretty bad. But as you can see, this is pretty thin metal, and there's some indications here that exhaust gases are coming right out through here. So what I plan to do is use this as a template, and you can see this is distorted, and get something that's a little thicker metal, maybe like 1/8 inch or something like that. And I'm going to replace that. There is a gasket on here already, or there was. It's still there. So hopefully that's enough of a gasket there that it'll seal properly. I'll clean this all up so we have a nice flat mating surface. Okay, into the dungeon to try to find a piece of metal that'll work. Carter BBD. I really have to clean up this garage, or this basement. I'm not going to show you the rest. So looking around this whole cluttered basement, I am a musician, so a lot of this clutterness, I love making up new words, is a drum set, my recording studio, keyboards, I can't throw anything out, guitar cases, guitars, a spare Slant Six head, and even more speakers and stuff down that way, and a dog who doesn't like when I make recordings of videos. Anyway, I did find this one hunk of metal around, much more robust, and I should be able to scribe that out there, cut that out with a cutting wheel, and we'll give that a go. I'm doing that thing that I do now where I look around my whole house for like an hour looking for my tool. In this case, my cutoff wheel. I spend an hour looking for things. I can't find them. One day I'll be organized. Is it in this toolbox? There it is. Too many toolboxes. Not enough time. And don't even begin to ask me where the wrench is to take off the cutoff wheel. Nothing a pair of channel locks can't fix. I'm actually going to be smart this time and get some hearing protection and go outside. Okay, that is finished. Now I need to deburr this and using some files. All right, that's all deburred. Hopefully you can see the difference in thickness between what I was using as that block off plate and what I have now. I don't have a mic with me, but you can obviously see this is a little bit more robust. So all I've got to do now is drill some holes and we'll go mount that. All right, let's go give it a go. Let's do the test. Keep a good eye out where the two yellow circles are and look at the exhaust gases that come out of that location. I think we still have an issue. it's coming from what I believe now is between the exhaust manifold and the intake manifold. That gasket must have blown out. I do have a new one coming, so for now, I guess that's going to be it. It's still hard to tell if it's leaking from this EGR valve. I don't think it is. So unfortunately, not a fix after a lot of time. But the good thing is that this is a much more robust delete plate, so it's probably good anyway. But a little disappointed. Looks like I'm going to have to separate these manifolds and put a new gasket in there. It's really leaking bad right here. And obviously the gasket has been compromised. You saw me pull a part of that out of there. So disappointed, but what can you do? At least it'll be easy to take apart because the bolts are somewhat new. Okay. I don't want to talk about it. I never really hung on much back here. It's kind of comfy. The old back seat. Anyway, the rest of the day, what I did today was to dye the rest of the remaining seat belts. I didn't do this last time because I was kind of concerned about putting this hardware into boiling water, but I was just getting so sick and tired of the nice new ones that I did, not matching with these, and I think they turned out really nice. Anyway, seatbelt. And remember, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. These were really faded, so I did the process the same as the other ones, and now reinstalling, so it should look a little bit better. Every little bit helps. So this reminds me of that old saying, you can't put lipstick on a pig, or whatever that saying is, but it does look better. Here's a cool fog picture of the smokestack from the old asbestos factory in my town. Kind of a cool picture. What are these little indents for in the steering wheel? There's one on each side. Is it for your thumbs to ride in comfortably? Got one on this side too. What are they for? Stay. Well, it's raining today, so I'm in the old Mazda. I'm just realizing how much fun it is to drive the Dart to work every day. I actually look forward to driving in it, and especially on the way home, you know, when you just want the day to end at work and be on your own time. It's real cool to just get in the Dart and roll down all the windows and drive it like it was back in the 60s when it was new, and in the 80s when I would have owned something similar to that. So but it is also nice to have a somewhat modern car on rainy days. But that broke a streak of, I think, 9 days that I had driven the car every day to work. So I just don't want it to get the Dart to get all wet underneath. And there'll be more weather, good weather coming up. So just signing off. Just an observation from an idiot. Ooh, it's a beautiful afternoon. Work is done, and I get to drive this thing home. All right. Okay, funny story. I left my lights on, but luckily where I work, we have jump packs, so I'm back on the road.
Interesting. The delegation.
It's a cool
Delegation got 230.
We got a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Don't ask. Hey, it's another dart. Hi, I'm Jay. Okay, back at the engine. Still having an exhaust leak. And I know it's coming from between the manifold stovepipe thing here. I did actually find the original gasket and put that in, but that didn't seem to work too well. But I did go out and buy a new Remflex, and I also got some tube gaskets for the spark plug tubes. We'll put those in later too, so stick with me. So separating these two manifolds means taking all of this carburetor springs and the cables and the carburetor, take them off, loosen all the nuts here for the intake and the exhaust manifold, and then that gives you enough room here to split the manifolds to put that gasket in. So I'm going to set you up on a camera. I'm going to do that in quick time. Okay, so I did get all these bolts loosened. Don't actually need to remove the manifold, just loosen the upper nuts and the lower nuts. Some of them on the exhaust manifold underneath have those spreaders on them like this, so you have to loosen up the bolts. Don't take all of them out, you don't need to. I took these off just because they were shorter studs and I just wanted to make sure you had enough room. But once you do that, you can see that the two manifolds will separate, and that's enough room to get a gasket in there. So let me take out that gasket that's in there. So here is the original gasket. It's actually a steel gasket, very thin. Apparently, according to Jamie at Dead Dodge Garage, the exhaust leaks are pretty prevalent on Slant Six engines. So I am going to try to replace this with a Remflex. But I do want to point out that I already kind of did this with the Remflex, and I don't know if it was this way or this way, but you can see that it's sealed really well here. For some reason here it was leaking like a sieve. I don't know if there's something with the mating surfaces there, but I'm going to try a new gasket and see what happens. Okay, so I got that gasket in there. Just slid it between the two pipes. I'm trying to get it centered as best I can. I have an idea that I'm going to tighten these two bolts first, because it seemed like it was leaking in the front here more than anywhere else, and then just tighten up this other bolt that's in the back because it seemed to seal pretty well. So, you know, doing sort of equal pressure. I don't know why this wouldn't seal. It looks like there's no
It looks like there's no deformity in the manifold mating surfaces, so we'll just hope for the best. I got it pretty well centered. I'm using my finger around the edge here just to make sure that the gasket isn't kinked up at all. So another thing I thought I would try this time, and I did this actually last time with the steel gasket, but I just don't think that these are thick enough. But anyway, I wanted to attach the two manifolds together first and then sort of tighten them to the head. I think what I did before was put the manifolds on at the same time I put the gasket between the two manifolds, and I think maybe that's why they got jogged a little bit. So trying that. Okay, I got everything put back together. Everything tightened up, and we'll give this a test in a little bit. But next thing I want to do is replace these spark plug tubes gaskets. I took the first one off, actually the second cylinder, and realized that it didn't have any gasket at all. So hopefully this will help with the any oil leaking around the spark plug tubes, which is a common place where they leak oil. So I have a package here of more, and we'll see if the gaskets were on any of the spark plug tubes, also known as drool tubes. So none of these spark plug tubes had gaskets, so I don't know if that's by design or what. So every spark plug looked like this, which is a good sign. No wet plugs. It looks like getting good clean combustion. I believe they're supposed to be this way, this cloudy gray color. If not, let me know in the comments. So when you're doing plugs, especially on the one at the front near the coil, you want to make sure your battery's disconnected. Ask me how I know. Hello. Well, hopefully you can hear me. I think that we have finally solved this. I do not feel any blow by here, so I think this is actually fixed. So I'm gonna go take it out for a nice test ride. See if I get fumes inside the car. I'm gonna be happy not to have fumes inside the car. I don't like to asphyxiate myself before work or before taking the car out. So far so good. Let's see if we're getting any leaking in the drool tubes. This isn't leaking. This was there already. So they look okay too. All right, we'll take it out for a test drive, see what happens. All right, the first test will be the asphyxiation test. I'm gonna ride it around here a little bit. Let's see if we get some fumes in here. Usually the time to discover the smell in this is when I nail it, you know, put the pedal to the metal, that thing to the floor. So far I'm not getting any fumes, which is a good sign, I hope. And the car seems to be running pretty well. Some people walking across the street. I don't think I've ever seen people walk that slow, and they're not that old. Maybe I just run at a different speed. Hello, slow people. I don't smell anything.
The only thing I smell right now is my peach-flavored peachy peach little tree, which makes the car smell a little bit more tolerable. So I'm gonna do the gun it test in a little bit, but you don't have to stick around for that. I'll bring you back. All right, so I can bring it to a spot now. Am I yelling? Yeah, I'm yelling. So I can open it up a little bit. Let's see what we got. Car's a little cold still. All right. I think we have this problem solved. I am not getting any fumes, which is a delightful thing. It's also pretty warm here today for an October day, and it's really hot, so I really like to open the windows. But yeah, I am not smelling anything. Wow, almost anything. So as soon as I opened up the door, I immediately smelled fumes, and that's normal, just coming, you know, out the tailpipe. Let's see what we got inside. I could tell you it's much quieter. I don't know if you can tell from that other video, but you could hear it going. And I don't hear that noise. And the only heat I feel is coming off the manifold itself. So I think this issue is solved. Thank goodness. I just realized that you were staring at my ugly face. But anyway, like I said, I don't feel any of the gases coming out of that area. I also, like I said, when you were looking at my face, you don't hear the noise that was coming out as well. So yeah. Why does my power steering belt always loosen up? Alright, I think this is a win, and yeah, we'll go from there. Alright, so this is a wrap. Until the next time. Who knows what the next project will be? I got some ideas, but who knows? Another thing I wanted to point out, I don't know if you can see this, but my odometer now is saying 69567. And when I bought the car, I believe it was at 66,800, if my memory serves. So I'm not really good at math, but I've put at least 2,300 miles on this car since I've owned it. That's pretty impressive in itself, I think. Okay, see you next time. As always, thank you for watching. And if you are watching and enjoying some of these videos, please give us a like. Give us, like, who else is here? Give a like and maybe consider subscribing. Thank you. Bye-bye. And remember, Jamie is the king. I'm not making fun of him. I watch all his videos. A bright young man and really funny. I am just imitating him for laughs, not cutting him up, because he's way better at all this than I am. Bye-bye.